Commander Wilson invited the alien team to examine the ship's bridge systems. Dr. Zelnar hoped this would be more conventional. Every species had similar bridge layouts and control systems for commanding their vessels. The human bridge was controlled. Chaos. Multiple screens showed different information streams. Officers called out reports constantly. Warning lights flashed, but no one seemed concerned about them. "This is organized?" Dr. Zelnar asked, watching the apparent confusion. "For us," Wilson said. "Each station can override any other station if needed. Every officer can control every system on the ship." "That sounds incredibly dangerous." "It is," Wilson agreed. "But it means if half the bridge gets destroyed in battle, we can still fight the ship effectively." Dr. Zelnar watched the human officers work. Lieutenant Nancy Clark was monitoring sensor readings while simultaneously calculating firing solutions and tracking enemy movement patterns. Her hands moved across multiple control panels at once. "How can she process so much information simultaneously?" Dr. Zelnar asked. "Humans are good at multitasking," Wilson explained. "Nancy there is also listening to 3 different radio channels and keeping track of our fuel consumption levels, all at the same time. She is also thinking about what to have for dinner and composing a letter to her sister back on Earth." Dr. Zelnar's head was spinning. No known species could process information in so many different streams without going insane. The ship's computer system was equally confusing. It was not one large computer, but dozens of smaller systems all connected together. Some used quantum processors, others used biological neural networks, and a few seemed to use technology that Dr. Zelnar could not identify at all. "Why not use one large computer system?" she asked Lieutenant Jake Adams, the Chief Information Officer. "Redundancy," Jake explained patiently. "If one system fails, the others keep working. Also, different problems need different types of processing power. But how do they all communicate with each other?" "Very carefully," Jake said with a grin. "We lose about 10% of our data to translation errors between different systems, and that is acceptable to you? Better than losing everything when the main computer gets destroyed in battle." Dr. Zelnar realized that human ship design was based on the assumption that everything would eventually be destroyed. They built their systems to be easily replaced rather than permanently reliable. Dr. Zelnar examined one of the smaller computer systems more closely. It appeared to be using organic brain tissue as processing material. "Is this a biological computer?" she asked. "Sort of," Jake explained. "We grow neural networks in vats and use them for pattern recognition. They are really good at spotting things that regular computers miss." "You are using living brains as computer components?" "Not exactly living," Jake said. "More like brain tissue that never became a full brain. It is complicated." Dr. Zelnar was horrified. Humans were using biological tissue as computer hardware. No other species would consider such a thing ethical. "Where do you get the brain tissue?" she asked carefully. "We grow it from volunteer donors," Jake explained. "People donate cells and we grow neural networks from them. The donors get paid and the networks help keep everyone safe." "Are the neural networks conscious?" "We do not think so," Jake said. "They can process information and recognize patterns, but they do not seem to be aware of what they are doing." Dr. Zelnar was not entirely convinced. The ethical implications of biological computers were staggering. Jake showed them the bridge's communication systems. Dr. Zelnar expected to see standard radio and quantum transmitters. Instead, she found something much stranger. "What are these devices?" she asked, pointing to several machines that seemed to be humming with their own inner life. "Psychic communication arrays," Jake said casually. "Psychic communication?" Dr. Zelnar stared at him. "That is impossible. Telepathy does not exist. Tell that to our psychics," Jake said. "They can communicate across vast distances without any technology at all." Dr. Zelnar met the ship's psychic communication officer, Corporal Beth Williams. She was a young woman with intense eyes who seemed to see through Dr. Zelnar's skin. "You do not believe in psychic abilities," Beth observed without being told. "No species has demonstrated genuine telepathic capabilities," Dr. Zelnar said carefully. No, other species, Beth corrected. Humans started developing psychic abilities about 50 years ago. Nobody knows why. Can you demonstrate these abilities? Beth closed her eyes and concentrated. After a moment, she opened them again. Commander Wilson just thought about asking Lieutenant Clark if she wants coffee. He decided not to ask because she looks busy. Dr. Zelnar looked at Commander Wilson, who was standing across the bridge near Lieutenant Clark. He was indeed looking at Clark as if considering whether to disturb her. That could be coincidence, Dr. Zelnar said. Could be, Beth agreed. But I can also tell you that Dr. Blip is thinking about how much he wants to go home. And you are wondering if this is all some elaborate trick. Dr. Zelnar stared at Beth. The young woman had accurately described both Dr. Blip's and her own thoughts. How? Many humans have psychic abilities? Dr. Zelnar asked. About 1 in 1,000, Beth replied. Most are pretty weak. I am considered strong because I can read thoughts from several miles away. Dr. Zelnar realized that humans had developed abilities that violated known laws of physics. Telepathy was scientifically impossible, yet here was clear evidence it existed. How? Do you use psychic abilities for communication? She asked. Psychics on different ships can talk to each other mentally, Beth explained. Much faster than radio and impossible to intercept. What is the range of psychic communication? Depends on the psychic, Beth said. I can reach about 50 light years. The really strong ones can communicate across the entire galaxy. Dr. Zelnar was amazed. Humans had developed faster-than-light communication using abilities that should not exist. Jake showed them the bridge's tactical systems. Dr. Zelnar expected to see standard military planning computers. Instead, she found humans making decisions based on intuition and guesswork. How do you plan combat tactics? She asked. Experience and gut feeling mostly, Wilson replied. Every battle is different. Rigid plans usually fail as soon as the shooting starts. Dr. Zelnar watched the tactical team preparing for a practice scenario. Instead of running detailed computer simulations, they were discussing the enemy's likely psychology and making educated guesses about their behavior. Do you not use mathematical analysis for tactical planning? Dr. Nix asked. Math is useful for some things, Wilson said. But combat is about people making decisions under pressure. Psychology matters more than mathematics. Dr. Zelnar realized that human tactical thinking was based on understanding enemy behavior rather than calculating optimal moves. They fought against the minds controlling enemy ships, not the ships themselves. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Johnson, the tactical officer, showed them her planning methods. She was studying reports of previous battles against different alien species. I read every combat report I can find, Sarah explained. Each species fights differently. Zephyrians are cautious and prefer long-range combat. Andromedans are aggressive and like to close distance quickly. You plan tactics based on species psychology? Dr. Zelnar asked. Sure, Sarah said. If I know how an enemy thinks, I can predict what they will do. Then I can be ready for it. What if you encounter a species you have never fought before? Then, I watch how they fight and adapt as quickly as possible, Sarah said. Usually takes a few minutes to figure out their patterns. Dr. Zelnar was amazed. Human tactical officers could analyze unknown enemy behavior in real time and develop countermeasures. During active combat, have you ever been wrong about enemy psychology? She asked. All the time, Sarah admitted. But being wrong teaches me something new. Next time I fight that species, I know more about how they think. Dr. Zelnar realized that human tactical development was based on learning from combat experience rather than theoretical study. They improved their fighting ability by actually fighting. Wilson showed them the bridge's emergency systems. Dr. Zelnar expected to see backup controls in case the main systems failed. Instead, she found something that looked like organized anarchy. What happens if the bridge is destroyed? She asked. Any section of the ship can serve as a temporary bridge, Wilson explained. All our crew members are cross-trained on basic ship operations. Every crew member can command the ship? In an emergency, yes, Wilson said. The cook could fly the ship if necessary. Not well, but well enough to survive. Dr. Zelnar was shocked. Most species had highly specialized crew members who could only perform their specific jobs. Humans trained everyone to do everything. How do you prevent conflicts when multiple people can give orders? Dr. Blip asked. Chain of command, Wilson said simply. Highest-ranking survivor takes charge. Everyone else follows orders. What if the highest-ranking survivor is incompetent? Then they learn fast, or we all die, Wilson said. Survival is a good teacher. Dr. Zelnar examined the cross-training records for the crew. She found that the ship's cook was qualified to operate weapons systems. The janitor could perform basic medical procedures. The communications officer could repair engines. Why do you train everyone for multiple jobs? She asked. The weapons section was equally confusing. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Davis, the ship's weapons officer, showed them the main armament. The guns were massive, taking up a significant portion of the ship's interior space. These are our primary weapons, Ryan said, patting one of the gun barrels affectionately. They can punch through most alien armor. Dr. Zelnar scanned the weapons with a different analyzer. This device also began showing error messages almost immediately. What type of energy do these weapons use? She asked. Ryan scratched his head, thoughtfully. Well, we start with standard plasma, then we boost it with some nuclear fusion reactions, add a bit of antimatter for extra power, and route the whole thing through our experimental quantum field generators. Dr. Zelnar stared at him. You mix antimatter with plasma? That should destroy your entire ship. It did. The first few times we tested it, Ryan said cheerfully. We lost 3 ships learning how to make it work properly. But now it is pretty reliable. Define reliable, Dr. Zelnar said weakly. The weapons only explode about once every 100 shots now. Much better than the early versions. And when they explode? We have automated repair systems that fix the damage. Usually takes about an hour to get the weapons back online. Dr. Zelnar realized that human weapons were designed to be rebuilt constantly. They were not built to last. They were built to be easily replaced when they inevitably broke down. How do you aim these weapons? Asked Dr. Nix. Ryan showed them the targeting system. It was a combination of advanced computers and manual controls operated by human gunners. The computer does most of the work, Ryan explained. But our gunners can override the system if they see something the computer misses. Manual override of targeting systems? Dr. Zelnar was shocked. That is far too dangerous. Computer systems are much more accurate than biological reactions. Maybe for other species, Ryan said, but humans have good reflexes and intuition. Sometimes the gunner sees a weakness or opportunity that the computer calculation misses. Dr. Zelnar watched a human gunner practicing on a targeting simulator. Sergeant Amy Foster was hitting targets that should have been impossible to track. Her hands moved across the controls faster than any computer could calculate optimal firing solutions. How does she process targeting information so quickly? Dr. Zelnar asked. Practice, Ryan said simply. Amy has been shooting things since she was 5 years old. First with small weapons on Earth, then with ship guns when she joined the military. She learned to use weapons as a child? Most humans do, Ryan said. We teach our children to hunt and shoot from an early age. It is part of our culture. Dr. Zelnar was beginning to realize that human military effectiveness came not just from their technology, but from a lifetime of training that started in childhood. Dr. Zelnar approached Sergeant Foster after she finished her practice session. Sergeant, may I ask you some questions about your targeting methods? Amy looked up from her console. She was a young woman with short blonde hair and steady hands. Sure, ask away. How do you track targets moving at such high speeds? Amy thought. For a moment. I guess I do not really think about it. I just watch the target and feel where it is going to be. Feel where it is going to be? Yeah, like when you throw a ball to someone. You do not aim where they are, you aim where they will be when the ball gets there. Same thing with shooting. Dr. Zelnar tried to understand this concept. But surely, you use mathematical calculations to predict target movement? Sometimes, Amy admitted. But math takes too long in a real fight. By the time you calculate where the target will be, It has already moved somewhere else. Then how do you know where to aim? Amy looked frustrated, trying to explain something that seemed obvious to her. You just know. Like when you are walking, you do not calculate each step. You just walk. Dr. Zelnar realized that humans processed combat information at an unconscious level. They made decisions faster than conscious thought could follow. Have you ever missed a target? Dr. Zelnar asked. Sure, lots of times, Amy said. But I learn something each time I miss. Next time, I am more likely to hit. How do you learn from missing? I remember what the target was doing when I missed. Then I adjust for that pattern next time. Dr. Zelnar was amazed. This human was unconsciously building a database of target behavior patterns and using it to improve her accuracy. No alien computer system worked that way. Sergeant Foster, Dr. Blip interrupted. May I scan your brain while you practice shooting? Amy shrugged. I guess so, if it helps. Dr. Blip attached sensors to Amy's head and had her run through another targeting exercise. The readings were impossible. According to my scanner, Dr. Blip said, her brain is processing visual information at 12 times normal biological limits. She is also running predictive calculations in parallel with conscious thought. Is that unusual? Ryan asked. For any known species, yes, Dr. Blip replied. Her brain is working like a biological computer, but faster than most actual computers. Amy laughed. My mom always said I was good at video games. Dr. Zelnar looked at the scanner readings. Amy's brain was doing things that should have been impossible for biological tissue. Yet she seemed completely unaware of her own capabilities. Sergeant, have you been tested by human scientists? Oh, sure, Amy said. They said I have good hand-eye coordination and fast reflexes, nothing special. Dr. Zelnar realized that humans might not understand their own abilities. What seemed normal to them was extraordinary to other species. Ryan showed them the ammunition storage area. Dr. Zelnar expected to see standard energy cells or plasma cartridges. Instead, she found something much stranger. What are these? She asked, pointing to large containers filled with different colored substances. Ammunition components, Ryan explained. We mix them on the spot depending on what we are shooting at. You create ammunition during combat? Sure. Different targets? Need different ammunition types. Zephyrian ships have strong shields but weak armor. Andromedan ships are the opposite. We adjust the ammunition mixture for maximum effectiveness. Dr. Zelnar examined the containers. Some held antimatter, others contained exotic matter she could not identify. A few seemed to be empty space, somehow contained in solid form. How do you safely store antimatter next to regular matter? She asked. Very carefully, Ryan said. We had some accidents early on, lost a few ships. How many accidents? Maybe 20 or 30 ships, Ryan said casually. But we learned from each one. Now we only lose about 1 ship per year to ammunition explosions. Dr. Zelnar was horrified. Human military development seemed to involve acceptable loss of entire ships and crews. No other species would tolerate such casualty rates during peacetime. Are your families not concerned about the danger? Dr. Nix asked. My wife knew what she was marrying, Ryan said. Military families understand the risks. But surely there are safer ways to develop weapons technology. Probably, Ryan agreed. But safer methods take longer. We need weapons that work now, not weapons that might work in 50 years. Dr. Zelnar was beginning to understand human military philosophy. They prioritized immediate effectiveness over long-term safety. It was the opposite of how other species approached military development. Ryan showed them a weapons testing area, where new ammunition types were developed. Dr. Zelnar watched human technicians casually handling substances that should have required full hazmat protocols. Is this area safe? She asked. Safe enough, Ryan replied. We lose maybe 1 technician per month to testing accidents. And that is acceptable? The technicians volunteer for this duty, Ryan explained. They know the risks. We pay extra hazard bonuses to their families. Dr. Zelnar noticed that the human technicians seemed excited about their dangerous work. They joked and laughed while handling explosive materials. She had never seen any species treat deadly substances so casually. Why do humans volunteer for such dangerous work? She asked. Because it is important, Ryan said simply. Someone has to test new weapons. Better that volunteers do it than force people. Dr. Zelnar realized that human military effectiveness was built on individual choice, to accept risk. Soldiers were not forced into danger, they chose it. Ryan, she said, may I ask why you chose weapons as your specialty? I like puzzles, Ryan said. Every enemy ship is a different puzzle. I have to figure out how to break their defenses using the tools I have available. You think of combat as puzzle solving? Sure. The enemy has shields, armor, and weapons arranged in a certain pattern. I have to find the weak point and exploit it before they find mine. Dr. Zelnar watched Ryan demonstrate his targeting computer. He was running simulations against different alien ship designs, testing various ammunition combinations. How do you know so much about alien ship designs? She asked. We study every ship we encounter, Ryan explained. Even our allies. We analyze their strengths and weaknesses just in case we ever have to fight them. You prepare to fight your allies? We prepare to fight everyone, Ryan said matter-of-factly. Not because we want to, but because we might have to someday. Dr. Zelnar realized that humans approached military planning with complete paranoia. They assumed everyone was a potential enemy and prepared accordingly. Does this not damage diplomatic relations? Dr. Blip asked. Not if they do not know about it, Ryan said with a grin. Besides, most species probably do the same thing to us. The High Council called an emergency meeting the next day. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the Great Chamber at the top of the Andromeda Station. They were the most intelligent beings in the known universe. Each one, an expert in their field. Admiral Keth of the Zephyrian Empire spoke first. His silver skin gleamed under the chamber's lights. Dr. Velthak's report is disturbing. How can a primitive species destroy our analysis equipment? Perhaps the equipment malfunctioned, suggested Council Member Thrix, a crystalline being from the Rigel system. Old machines break down. Dr. Velthak stood at the center of the chamber, feeling the eyes of the greatest minds in the galaxy upon him. The equipment was functioning perfectly until it encountered human technology. I have run diagnostics on similar systems throughout the station. They all fail when attempting to analyze human designs. Impossible, declared Dr. Quinn, the Council's expert on impossible things. No species can create technology beyond our understanding. We have studied civilizations millions of years old. Then explain this, Dr. Velthak said, activating a holographic display. The image showed the damaged remains of his laboratory. Twisted metal and burned circuits told the story of complete system failure. The council members were quiet for a moment. They had never seen analysis equipment destroyed by a simple scan. We need more information, Admiral Keth decided. Send a team to study human ships directly. Choose our best scientists. Dr. Zelnar raised one of her 4 arms. She was the galaxy's leading expert on alien technology, having solved the mysteries of countless civilizations. I volunteer to lead the investigation. Excellent, Admiral Keth said. Take whatever resources you need. We must understand human technology before it becomes a threat. Dr. Zelnar assembled a team of 5 scientists, each one a specialist in different aspects of alien technology. They traveled to Deep Space Station Alpha, a neutral facility where humans had agreed to allow alien examination of their ships. The station was a massive structure floating in empty space between star systems. It served as a meeting place for different species to conduct diplomatic and scientific exchanges. Dr. Zelnar had been there many times before, studying the technology of newly discovered civilizations. Admiral Lisa Parker met them at the docking bay. She was a human woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Her uniform was neat and professional, but Dr. Zelnar noticed weapon holsters on her belt. Welcome to Deep Space Station Alpha, Admiral Parker said. I understand. You want to examine one of our ships? We do, Dr. Zelnar replied. The Galactic Intelligence Council is very interested in human technology. Admiral Parker smiled, but Dr. Zelnar noticed the smile did not reach her eyes. We are always happy to cooperate with scientific research. The ship you will examine is The USS Defender, commanded by Commander Steve Wilson. Dr. Zelnar looked through the station's viewport at the human warship. It was medium-sized compared to other species vessels. Nothing that looked particularly impressive. The hull was gray metal with various weapons and sensors mounted on the outside. "It looks ordinary," observed Dr. Nix, one of her team members. "Looks can be deceiving," Admiral Parker said. "Commander Wilson and his crew are some of our best. They have been in more battles than most ships see in their entire service life." "How long has this ship been in service?" Dr. Zelnar asked. 3 years, Admiral Parker replied. "But it has been upgraded and modified 17 times since construction." Dr. Zelnar was surprised. Most species built ships to last for decades, without major changes. Constant modification was expensive and inefficient. Why so many modifications? "We learn something new in every battle," Admiral Parker explained. "Each modification makes the ship better at its job." Dr. Zelnar and her team boarded the Defender through an airlock connection. Commander Wilson met them at the entry hatch. He was a tall man, with brown hair and friendly eyes, but Dr. Zelnar could see the confidence of an experienced warrior in his posture. "Welcome aboard the Defender," Commander Wilson said. "Feel free to look around. Just be careful not to touch anything marked with red warning signs." Dr. Zelnar immediately noticed there were red warning signs everywhere. Almost every piece of equipment on the ship seemed to be marked as dangerous in some way. She had never seen so many safety warnings on a single vessel. "Is all of this equipment actually dangerous?" she asked. "Most of it," Commander Wilson admitted. "Human military technology tends to push the limits of what is considered safe, but it works." The alien team began their examination in the engine room. Chief Engineer Kate Murphy showed them around. She was a young woman with oil stains on her uniform and calloused hands that spoke of years working with machinery. "This is our main reactor," Kate said, pointing to a massive machine that hummed with barely contained power. Dr. Zelnar approached the reactor with her portable scanner. The device immediately began making distressed beeping sounds and flashing warning lights. "The energy output is beyond safe parameters," Dr. Zelnar said, reading her scanner's display. "How do you prevent an explosion?" Kate laughed. "We do not really prevent it. We just make sure when it happens in a controlled way." "When it happens?" Dr. Zelnar was horrified. "You mean this reactor explodes regularly?" "About once a month," Kate said casually. "We have backup systems that contain the explosion and restart the reactor automatically. Takes about 10 minutes. Your crew works near a reactor that explodes monthly? We take radiation pills and wear protective gear," Kate explained. "Most of the time it is not too dangerous." Dr. Zelnar looked at her team members. They all seemed as shocked as she was. No civilized species would build such a dangerous power system. "How do you contain the radiation when the reactor explodes?" asked Dr. Blip, her assistant. "We do not really contain it," Kate admitted. "We just evacuate the engineering sections and wait for levels to drop back to normal." "How long does that take?" "Usually about an hour, sometimes 2 if it is a really big explosion." Dr. Zelnar was beginning to understand why her scanning equipment had failed. Human technology operated outside the normal parameters that alien science considered possible. Dr. Zelnar pulled Kate aside privately. "Engineer Murphy, can I ask you something personal? How do you sleep at night knowing your reactor could explode at any moment?" Kate looked genuinely confused by the question. "Why would that keep me awake? The reactor is designed to explode. That is how it works best." "But surely there must be safer alternatives." "Probably," Kate admitted. "But safer reactors produce less power. We need maximum power for our weapons and shields. The explosion risk is just part of the job." Dr. Zelnar realized that humans had a completely different relationship with danger than other species. They accepted risks that would terrify most civilizations. "Have you ever been injured by reactor explosions?" Dr. Zelnar asked. "A few times," Kate said, rolling up her sleeve to show several scars. "Nothing too serious. The worst was when I got caught in a radiation burst and my hair fell out. It grew back, though." "And you continued working with the reactor after that?" "Of course. Someone has to keep the ship running. Besides, I am the only one who really understands this particular reactor design. How did you learn to work with such dangerous equipment? Kate smiled. Trial and error mostly. My first reactor assignment was on a ship where the previous engineer had been killed in an explosion. I had to figure out how everything worked by myself. That seems like poor training procedures. Maybe, Kate agreed. But it meant I really learned how the reactor works instead of just following procedures. When something goes wrong, I can usually fix it. Dr. Zelnar noticed that Kate spoke about explosions and radiation poisoning the way other species talked about minor inconveniences. Human engineers seem to have no fear of their own technology. Kate, may I ask how old you are? 26, Kate replied. And how long have you been working with reactors? 8 years. Started when I was 18, right out of engineering school. Dr. Zelnar was amazed. This young human had been working with deadly technology for 8 years and still had all her limbs. Most alien species would not trust someone so young with anything more dangerous than a food processor. What did they teach you in engineering school about reactor safety? Kate laughed. They taught us the theory of how reactors should work, but they also told us that human reactors do not always follow theory. They said the most important thing was to learn how to fix them when they break. When they break, not if they break? Right. Human military equipment breaks a lot. We design it that way on purpose. Why would you intentionally design equipment to break? Because equipment that can break can also be modified, Kate explained. If we built reactors that never failed, we could never improve them. Every time something breaks, we learn how to make it better. Dr. Zelnar was starting to understand human engineering philosophy. They treated failure as a learning opportunity rather than something to avoid. Commander Wilson joined them in the engine room. How is the examination going? He asked. Your reactor design violates several fundamental laws of physics, Dr. Zelnar said. Which laws? Wilson asked with genuine curiosity. The law of energy conservation, for one. Your reactor is producing more power than it consumes. Wilson looked at Kate. Is that true? The Galactic Intelligence Council stood at the center of the Andromeda Station, their massive building reaching up toward the stars like a silver spear. Inside the building, the greatest minds in the known universe worked day and night. They studied every species, every technology, every weapon that existed in the galaxy. Dr. Velthak moved his blue tentacles across the control panels with practiced ease. He had been the Council's top analyst for over 200 years. In that time, he had studied the war machines of 600 different alien species. His computer systems could break down any technology in minutes, revealing every secret and weakness. The walls of his laboratory were covered with holographic displays showing starships from across the galaxy. Zephyrian battlecruisers with their sleek silver hulls, Andromedan dreadnoughts that looked like floating pyramids, Rigelian destroyers that seemed to be made of pure crystal. Each design told a story of the species that built it. Today felt like any other day until his assistant Crix hurried into the lab. The small green creature was nervous, his 3 eyes darting around the room as if he expected something terrible to happen. Dr. Velthak, Crix said, his voice shaking slightly. The High Council has a new assignment for you. Velthak did not look up from his work. He was analyzing a Centaurian plasma cannon, and the work required his full attention. What species this time? The insectoid Hyvans? The gas-dwelling Nepturians? Humans, Crix replied quietly. This time, Velthak did look up. His large, dark eyes focused on his assistant. Humans? The new species from the Sol system? Yes, sir. They want a complete analysis of human military technology. Velthak laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Humans have only been traveling between the stars for 50 years. Most species take 300 years just to build a ship that can leave their home system. This will be the easiest assignment I have had in decades. Crix shifted nervously from foot to foot. Sir, there have been some reports about human ships. Other analysts have mentioned strange things. What kind of strange things? Equipment failures during scans. Unusual energy readings. Dr. Zephon, from the weapons division, said his computers crashed when he tried to analyze human plasma rifles. Veltak waved a tentacle dismissively. Dr. Zephon is old and his equipment is older. Probably just a malfunction. Besides, how dangerous can primitive human technology be? Crix pulled up the first file on the main display screen. The image showed a human starship floating in the darkness of space. It was designated USS Liberty, commanded by someone called Captain Joe Martinez. Veltak studied the ship with professional interest. It was not like anything he had seen before. Most alien ships followed basic design principles. They were either built for speed and looked sleek and smooth, or built for war and looked angular and threatening. Some species preferred geometric shapes, others went for organic curves. The human ship was different. It looked like someone had taken several different ship designs and welded them together. The front section was pointed like a Zephyrian cruiser. The middle was blocky like an Andromedan transport. The back had engines that reminded him of Rigelian fighters, but somehow all these different parts worked together. Interesting design philosophy, Veltak mused. They seemed to have borrowed ideas from multiple species and combined them. Primitive, but not entirely without merit. Should I begin the deep scan? Crix asked. Yes, start with standard analysis protocols. This should not take long. Veltak activated his most advanced scanning systems. These computers had cost the Council more resources than most planets produced in a year. They could analyze the molecular structure of alien metals, decode foreign computer languages, and map energy flow patterns through any known technology. The scanners focused on the human ship. Immediately, data began flowing across Veltak's screens. Hull composition, engine specifications, weapon placements, shield generators. Everything looked normal for the first few seconds. Then the alarms started. Red lights flashed throughout the laboratory. Warning sounds echoed off the walls. Veltak had never heard these particular alarms before. He looked at his displays, trying to understand what was happening. Warning, announced the computer's calm voice. Unknown energy signatures detected. Analysis parameters exceeded. Recommend immediate scan termination. Veltak was confused. His scanners could analyze anything. They had studied technology from species millions of years more advanced than humans. How could a primitive human ship cause problems? Override safety protocols, he commanded. Continue scanning at maximum power. Override accepted. Increasing scan intensity. The main display showed the human ship in greater detail now. Veltak could see inside the hull, watching energy flow through the ship's systems. What he saw made no sense. The ship's reactor was producing far more power than it should have been able to contain. The energy readings were beyond what any known species considered safe. Yet the ship was not exploding. Somehow the humans had found a way to contain dangerous amounts of power in a relatively small space. The weapon systems were even more confusing. They seemed to use 3 different types of energy at the same time: plasma, particle beams, and something else that Veltak could not identify. No species mixed different weapon types on the same ship. It was too complicated and too dangerous. Computer, analyze the unknown energy signature in the weapon systems. Analysis impossible. Energy type does not match any known physics. Veltak stared at the display. The computer was telling him that humans were using energy that should not exist. That was impossible. His scanners knew every type of energy in the universe. Run a deeper scan on the ship's computer systems. Attempting deeper scan. The laboratory's lights flickered. Sparks began flying from several control panels. The main display screen started showing static and random colors. Warning, the computer said, its voice now distorted and mechanical. Core processing systems overloading. Unknown data patterns causing cascade failures. Recommend immediate shutdown. No, Veltak said firmly. Continue the scan. I need to understand this technology. More sparks flew from the control panels. The smell of burning electronics filled the air. Crix backed away from the main console, his 3 eyes wide with fear. Sir, maybe we should stop the scan, Crix suggested. Not yet. We are close to understanding something important. The computer tried to continue analyzing the human ship, but the results were getting stranger. According to the scans, the ship's armor was both incredibly strong and completely weak at the same time. The engines were running on fuel that should not have been able to power them. The life support systems were using more energy than the ship could produce, yet somehow they were working perfectly. "This is impossible," Velthak muttered. "These readings violate basic physics." Suddenly, every screen in the laboratory went bright white. The sound of electrical systems overloading filled the room. Smoke poured from the main computer core. "Critical system failure," the computer announced in a voice that was barely recognizable. "All analysis protocols compromised. Core memory damaged. Human vessel analysis terminated." The screens went dark. The laboratory was filled with the sound of cooling metal and the smell of destroyed electronics. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls. Velthak stood in the ruins of his laboratory staring at the dead screens. His most advanced analysis equipment, technology that could study anything in the universe, had been destroyed by a simple scan of one human ship. "Sir?" Crick said quietly. "What do we tell the High Council?" Velthak was quiet for a long moment. In 200 years of analyzing alien technology, nothing like this had ever happened. He had studied weapons that could destroy planets, engines that could bend space and time, computers that could think faster than living minds. None of them had ever caused his systems to fail. "We tell them that human technology requires further study," he said finally. But privately, Velthak was beginning to suspect that humans had created something that even the smartest minds in the galaxy could not understand, and that thought terrified him more than he cared to admit. The medical bay was Dr. Zelnar's next stop, hoping it would make more sense than the weapons and engines. Surely human medicine would follow logical scientific principles. Dr. Carl Thompson, the ship's chief medical officer, welcomed them with a friendly smile. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and gentle hands, but Dr. Zelnar noticed he also carried a weapon. "This is where we patch up our crew after battles," Dr. Thompson said cheerfully. "We have some of the most advanced medical equipment in human space." Dr. Zelnar examined the medical devices. Most appeared normal, following standard biological repair principles. But some machines made no sense at all. "What is this device?" she asked, pointing to a large machine covered in warning labels and flashing lights. "Emergency trauma unit," Dr. Thompson explained. "If someone gets really hurt, we put them in there. It can fix almost any injury." "How does it function?" Dr. Thompson looked embarrassed. "We are not entirely sure, to be honest. We found the blueprints in an old Earth military archive. The original designer went insane trying to build the first prototype." Dr. Zelnar scanned the machine with her analyzer. The device simply displayed question marks and error messages. "Has anyone studied how this machine works?" she asked. "A few scientists tried," Dr. Thompson said. "They all gave up after a few weeks. Something about the quantum mechanics involved made their brains hurt." "But you use it regularly?" "Oh yes, it works great. Saved hundreds of lives over the years. We just do not ask too many questions about how it does what it does." Dr. Zelnar was shocked. Humans were using medical technology they did not understand. No other species would risk patient safety with unknown equipment. "What if the machine malfunctions?" Dr. Blip asked. "It does sometimes," Dr. Thompson admitted. "Usually it just refuses to work. Sometimes it makes strange humming noises once it started playing music. And you continue using it after malfunctions?" "As long as it keeps healing people, we keep using it," Dr. Thompson said. "We have backup equipment for emergencies." Dr. Zelnar met the ship's psychologist, Dr. Patricia Green. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who seemed to understand Dr. Zelnar's growing confusion. "You are having trouble understanding our technology," Dr. Green observed. "Your equipment defies logical analysis," Dr. Zelnar said. "How do humans design such things?" Dr. Green smiled warmly. "We do not really design them in the traditional sense. Human engineers have a saying, 'If it is stupid but it works, it is not stupid.' But surely you test your designs thoroughly before building them." "Sometimes," Dr. Green said. "But often we just build something and see if it works. If it explodes, We add more armor and try again. That seems incredibly wasteful and dangerous. It is, Dr. Green agreed. But it also means we learn very quickly. Each failure teaches us something new. Dr. Zelnar was getting a headache trying to understand. Human engineering philosophy. It seemed to be based on trial and error rather than careful scientific planning. Dr. Thompson showed them his surgical equipment. Dr. Zelnar expected to see precision instruments designed for delicate work. Instead, she found tools that looked more like construction equipment. "These are your surgical instruments?" she asked, picking up what appeared to be a small welding torch. "That is a bone fuser," Dr. Thompson explained. "We use it to repair broken bones during combat surgery." "It looks like a weapon." "A lot of our medical tools were originally weapons," Dr. Thompson admitted. "We modify military equipment for medical use. Works pretty well most of the time." Dr. Zelnar examined the bone fuser more closely. It was indeed a modified plasma cutter designed for cutting through metal armor. Humans had somehow turned it into a medical device. "How do you prevent accidental injury to patients?" she asked. "Practice and good reflexes," Dr. Thompson said. "Our medics train for years before we let them use the dangerous equipment." "What happens if a medic makes a mistake?" "Depends on the mistake," Dr. Thompson said thoughtfully. "Small mistakes usually just require additional surgery. Big mistakes require the trauma unit." Dr. Zelnar watched Dr. Thompson demonstrate the bone fuser on a practice dummy. His hands moved with practiced skill, but she could see how easily the device could cause severe injury. "Have you had accidents with this equipment?" she asked. "A few," Dr. Thompson admitted. "Lost a couple patients early on while we were learning, but now our accident rate is pretty low. Define low. Maybe one serious accident per month," Dr. Thompson said. "Not bad considering how much dangerous surgery we do." Dr. Zelnar realized that humans accepted medical casualties as part of learning to use their equipment. Most species would ban such dangerous tools after the first accident. "Dr. Thompson," she said, "why do you use such risky medical equipment?" "Because it works faster than safe equipment," Dr. Thompson explained. "In combat, speed is more important than safety. We can save more lives by working quickly, even if we occasionally lose someone to equipment accidents." Dr. Zelnar was beginning to understand human medical philosophy. They prioritized saving the maximum number of lives, even if it meant accepting occasional losses to dangerous procedures. Dr. Thompson showed them the ship's pharmacy. Dr. Zelnar expected to see standard medications organized by type and purpose. Instead, she found something that looked more like a chemistry laboratory. "We make most of our medications on board," Dr. Thompson explained. "Different species require different drugs, so we mix custom treatments as needed." "You create untested medications during medical emergencies?" "We test them," Dr. Thompson said defensively. "We just test them on the patients who need them instead of in laboratories." Dr. Zelnar was horrified. Humans were using their patients as test subjects for experimental drugs. Is that not extremely dangerous? "Sure," Dr. Thompson agreed. "But if someone is dying anyway, experimental treatment is better than no treatment." "What if the experimental treatment makes them worse?" "Then we learn something for next time," Dr. Thompson said. "Every failed treatment teaches us what not to try." Dr. Zelnar realized that human medical advancement was built on the willingness of patients to risk their lives testing new treatments. It was medical progress through human sacrifice. "Do patients consent to being test subjects?" Dr. Nix asked. "Of course," Dr. Thompson said. "We explain the risks and let them choose. Most people prefer a chance of survival over certain death." Dr. Zelnar examined the pharmacy's records. She found detailed notes on hundreds of experimental treatments, most of which had failed, but the successful treatments were now being used throughout the human fleet. "How do you share successful treatments with other medical officers?" she asked. "We upload everything to the medical database," Dr. Thompson explained. "Successful treatments, failed treatments, interesting side effects, everything. You share information about failed treatments?" "Especially failed treatments," Dr. Thompson emphasized. "Other medics need to know what does not work so they do not repeat our mistakes." Dr. Zelnar was amazed. Humans turned their medical failures into learning opportunities for the entire fleet. No other species was so open about their mistakes. Dr. Thompson introduced them to his surgical team. Dr. Zellner expected to meet highly trained specialists with years of education. Instead, she met young humans who looked barely old enough to be adults. "How old are your surgeons?" she asked. "Most are in their 20s, Dr. Thompson said. "We train them young so they can learn to work under pressure." "Do they have medical degrees?" "Some do. Others learned on the job. Combat medicine is different from civilian medicine. Experience matters more than formal education." Dr. Zellner watched a young surgeon named Tony Martinez performing practice surgery on a simulation dummy. His movements were quick and confident, but he looked no older than 25. "How long have you been performing surgery, Mr. Martinez?" she asked. "About 3 years," Tony replied. "Started right after I joined the military." "What medical training did you have before that?" "Basic first aid course in high school," Tony said. "Everything else I learned here." Dr. Zellner was shocked. This human had learned to perform complex surgery through on-the-job training with minimal formal education. "Who taught you surgery?" she asked. "Dr. Thompson and the other medics," Tony said. "Also trial and error. You learn fast when people's lives depend on your work." "Were you not afraid of making mistakes that could kill patients?" "Terrified," Tony admitted. "But someone had to learn. Better to have inexperienced surgeons than no surgeons at all." Dr. Zellner realized that human medical training was based on necessity rather than lengthy education. They created competent surgeons in years rather than decades. "Tony," she said, "have you lost patients due to inexperience?" Tony's expression became serious. "A few, especially early on. Each one taught me something important. I keep a list of their names to remind me to do better." Dr. Zellner was moved by the young surgeon's dedication. He carried the weight of his failures as motivation to improve. Dr. Thompson showed them the ship's biological research laboratory. Dr. Zellner expected to see careful, controlled experiments on known organisms. Instead, she found humans experimenting on themselves. "What is the purpose of this laboratory?" she asked. "We test biological enhancements on volunteers," Dr. Thompson explained. "Improved reflexes, better radiation resistance, enhanced healing rates." "You experiment on your own crew members?" Dr. Zellner and her team returned to their ship after 3 days of examination. They were completely baffled. They had spent more time studying human technology than they usually needed to analyze entire civilizations, yet they understood less than when they started. "Report?" asked Admiral Keth when they arrived back at the Galactic Intelligence Council. "Impossible to analyze," Dr. Zellner admitted reluctantly. "Human technology follows no known principles. Their ships should not function according to our understanding of physics, yet they are among the most effective warships we have encountered." "Explain what you mean." Dr. Zellner took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. "Humans do not design their ships using traditional engineering methods. They evolve them. They start with basic concepts, then modify and improve through constant experimentation. Each ship is unique because they learn from every battle and apply those lessons immediately." "That sounds inefficient." "It should be," Dr. Zellner agreed, "but it makes their ships completely unpredictable. Their weapons mix incompatible technologies that should destroy each other. Their reactors operate far beyond what we consider safe limits. Their computer systems are chaotic, yet somehow more robust than our organized networks." Admiral Keth was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "Are you saying their ships are superior to ours?" "Not superior exactly," Dr. Zellner said, carefully. "Just impossible to understand or counter effectively. Every time we think we understand their technology, they modify it based on new experience. They adapt faster than we can analyze. What do you recommend?" Dr. Zellner looked around the chamber at the greatest minds in the galaxy. For the first time in her career, she had to admit defeat. "I recommend we avoid military conflict with humans," she said quietly. "Their technology is too unpredictable to counter effectively. Analysis of human warships should be discontinued immediately for the safety of our equipment and personnel." The report caused panic throughout the Galactic Intelligence Council. They had built their power and influence on understanding alien technology. If they could not analyze human ships, they could not predict human military capabilities or develop countermeasures. Emergency meetings were held at the highest levels. The smartest minds in the galaxy worked around the clock on the human problem. Mathematical experts, physics specialists, and engineering geniuses all tried to find some way to understand human military technology. Dr. Vorthak, the Council's top mathematician, spent weeks trying to create equations that could describe human reactor systems. His calculations kept producing impossible results that violated fundamental laws of physics. According to my mathematics, Dr. Vorthak reported, human reactors cannot exist. The energy outputs I measured would require matter conversion rates that exceed the speed of light. Yet the reactors clearly do exist, Admiral Keth pointed out. Then our understanding of physics is incomplete, Dr. Vorthak said helplessly. Humans have discovered something we do not know. Dr. Zilith, the galaxy's leading expert on weapons technology, had similar problems analyzing human armaments. Her computer models crashed every time she tried to simulate human weapon systems. Human weapons appear to use quantum effects that we have never observed, Dr. Zilith reported. They somehow manipulate probability itself to increase their effectiveness. That is impossible, stated Dr. Quinn. I agree it should be impossible, Dr. Zilith said. But the evidence clearly shows humans are doing things we cannot explain. Professor Malthan, the Council's expert on computer systems, was equally baffled by human information technology. He had studied the data collected by Dr. Zelnar's team and found patterns that made no sense. Human computer systems should not work, Professor Malthan declared. They violate every principle of information theory, yet somehow they process data more efficiently than our most advanced systems. How is that possible? Admiral Keth asked. I do not know, Professor Malthan admitted. Their biological computers appear to use quantum entanglement between organic neurons. The processing methods involved are beyond our current understanding. The Council brought in specialists from every field of science. Biologists studied human, medical technology. Psychologists analyzed human tactical thinking. Physicists examined human ship designs. Every expert reached the same conclusion. Human technology was impossible to understand using conventional science. Dr. Yilthin, the galaxy's leading expert on consciousness studies, made a disturbing discovery about human psychic abilities. After reviewing Dr. Zelnar's reports, she concluded that humans had developed mental capabilities that should not exist. Telepathy violates the fundamental structure of space-time, Dr. Yilthin reported. For humans to communicate psychically, they would need to access dimensions of reality that we cannot even detect. Are you saying humans have evolved beyond normal physics? Admiral Keth asked. I am saying humans appear to use their consciousness in ways that interact with the quantum foundation of reality itself, Dr. Yilthin explained. They have somehow learned to think their way around physical limitations. The implications were staggering. If humans could manipulate reality through consciousness alone, they represented a level of development far beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Admiral Keth called a meeting of the full council after months of failed analysis attempts. Representatives from all major civilizations gathered in the Great Chamber, each one hoping someone had found answers. We have reached a conclusion, Admiral Keth announced. Human technology cannot be analyzed using our current scientific methods. Their ships operate according to principles we do not understand and cannot predict. What does this mean for galactic security? Asked Ambassador Thyrex of the Andromedan Empire. It means humans represent an unknown variable in all military calculations, Admiral Keth replied. We cannot assess their true capabilities or develop effective countermeasures. Are they a threat to galactic peace? Asked Counselor Vex of the Regellian Federation. We do not know, Admiral Keith admitted. They have shown no aggressive intentions toward established civilizations, but their military capabilities appear to be advancing at an unprecedented rate. Dr. Zelnar spoke up from her seat in the analysis section. Based on my observations, humans do not seek conquest through military superiority. They seem more interested in protecting their own territory and trade routes. But they could become aggressive in the future, pointed out General Clax of the Zephyrian military. Yes, Dr. Zelnar agreed. And if they do, we would have no reliable defense against their technology. The council debated for hours about how to handle the human situation. Some members wanted to establish formal military alliances with humanity. Others suggested keeping careful distance to avoid potential conflicts. Admiral Keth finally called for a vote on the official council policy regarding human technology analysis. The result was unanimous. All attempts to study human warships would be suspended immediately. The risk to our equipment and personnel is too great, Admiral Keth declared. Human technology is classified as a hazardous research subject. Any scientist attempting to analyze human military systems will be acting without council approval. The decision was kept secret from the general galactic population. The council could not afford to let other civilizations know that the smartest minds in the galaxy had given up trying to understand a supposedly primitive species. Dr. Zelnar was reassigned to study safer subjects like collapsing black holes and exploding supernovas. She never attempted to analyze another human ship, and she warned other scientists to avoid the subject entirely. Dr. Veltak rebuilt his laboratory with new equipment, but he programmed it to refuse any scan requests involving human technology. He had learned his lesson about the dangers of trying to understand the impossible. The secret spread quietly through alien scientific communities. Researchers who tried to study human ships found their equipment mysteriously malfunctioning. Gradually, the word spread. Human technology was too dangerous to investigate. When other alien species asked the Galactic Intelligence Council about human military capabilities, they would quickly change the subject. Some topics, they had learned, were too dangerous to discuss openly. Years passed, and the avoidance of human technology became standard practice throughout the galaxy. Research institutes banned studies of human engineering. Military academies stopped including human tactical analysis in their curriculum. The entire galactic scientific community agreed to pretend that human technology did not exist. Human ships continued to patrol trade routes and protect human colonies throughout the galaxy. Other species gave them a wide berth, not because humans were particularly aggressive, but because their ships were completely unpredictable and impossible to analyze. The humans never learned why aliens avoided studying their technology. They assumed it was respect for their engineering skills and military effectiveness. Commander Wilson and his crew continued their missions, never knowing that their ship had broken the minds of the galaxy's smartest scientists. Captain Joe Martinez still commanded the USS Liberty, unaware that his ship had started a galaxy-wide scientific crisis. He and his crew went about their duties, maintaining and upgrading their vessel according to human military standards.